My name is Susanna Pressel. I'm Chair of Oxfordshire County Council.
And I'm James Fry. I'm the Lord Mayor of Oxford. I mean, if you look, and that we're sitting in a room with photos of earlier Lord Mayors, you can see that often in the past, one of a couple has been Lord Mayor, followed a few years later by the other. That's not unusual. And Susanna's been Lord Mayor, but to be of two different levels of local government covering the city, that is probably unprecedented.
Because the Chair of the County Council is sort of the equivalent of the Lord Mayor, so it's sheer coincidence.
She outranks me, she always does. I thought I was catching up when I became Lord Mayor, and lo and behold, the day before I became Lord Mayor, she became Chair of the county.
I'm much more important than James because the county is much bigger than the city, and it includes the city, so obviously I'm much more important. But unfortunately, I don't have all the pomp and ceremony that goes with the Lord Mayor.
But people think that the Lord Mayor's role with the gowns and everything else just much more important.
I think it's called a robe, not a gown.
Okay, it's called a robe, but it's like an academic gown. But the invitations tend to come to me, not to Susanna, and we have a dilemma. Should she ever come as my consort, Lady Mayoress, or not? But she, I think, has only been to one event as that. She always comes as Chair of the county.
I'm trying to raise the profile of local government and make sure that people know that we're there for them, but also that we have a function as kind of the figurehead of that bit of local government. Because a lot of people never stop to think about local government at all. It sounds terribly boring. So I want to try and raise its profile, as I said. And I hope it'll encourage people to contact us. If they live in our ward or division and they need something, they should contact their local councillor.
I mean, one thing which I think people will be aware of is this was a rather unusual year, partly in terms of both the roles coming out of COVID did change the nature. The two previous Lord Mayors had actually ended up with 18-month terms of office because the middle period was completely stymied by COVID. But then we had the death of the Queen, and that gave rise to various ceremonies, and then we had the proclamation of the new king. And these are things that happen clearly very rarely, and we happen to have those in this civic year, and we were both present at Carfax when there was the proclamation, which was a very grand occasion, I would say. I mean, it was very nice to be part of that.
When we both took over in the middle of last May, things were just starting to get back to normal, and there were a lot of Jubilee parties shortly after that. And for many people, it was the first time they'd got together with their neighbours and so on. So it was lovely to tour all these parties. I think you went to 10 different Jubilee parties in one day.
I went to 10 in one
day.
afternoon,
Yes.
Lots of flapjacks
Yes.
and cake, yes. But I should mention, Susanna having been Lord Mayor, I did manage to see things from, if you like, that side of it, so I knew what kind of duties, and she won't say it, but she has the record for the number of engagements she went to in her year as Lord Mayor. I mean, it is impressive. I mean, she averaged about 2 a day, and there's no way, if you've got, as I do, a full-time job, you can also do that. But also, we haven't had as many invitations as I think we would have done pre-COVID. How many have you done in your year?
Well, up until the end of December, no, at the end of March, I've done 333.
Gosh, well, you
But I
come
never
to
say
my
no
engagements.
Well, no, then I get myself invited in my own right. I don't come to your engagements.
Okay, I won't disagree with you.
If James gets invited, I write to the person and say, please, could I come in my capacity as Chair of the County Council? So I help to raise the profile of the County Council, which is good. But for our marriage, I think it's probably been good because we got even more in common. So we go to things together.
Occasionally.
Yes, quite often. And so I'm seeing more of James than I used to. And I haven't yet got fed up with that. Well, I was lucky to be able to visit lots of places around Oxfordshire, which I've never been to before. And I mostly went on the bus, on the top deck of the bus, so I could admire the beautiful countryside. We're so lucky to live in such a lovely county. So that's been great for me. How about you?
For me, people have asked me, what did I enjoy most? And it may sound surprising. I was invited to a primary school, and it was children 6 and 7 years old, and it was incredibly enjoyable. They were allowed to ask me questions, and being that age, they asked the most wonderful questions. Well, the very first one was, how old am I? And I said, I did tell the truth. The teacher said, oh, don't. And I said, so I told them, and they said, that's very old.
But one other important function, I think, is to go around and say thank you to people, particularly perhaps volunteers who are working so hard in our city. And there are thousands of people who give up thousands of hours to help one another for no reason other than altruism. And it's really nice to be able to say thank you to them. Like I've hosted some receptions to say thank you to particular charities.
I've never been involved with a citizenship ceremony, but I know you always say they are wonderful.
Yes, the citizenship ceremony I went to was very moving. There were about 40 different people from about 30 different countries, so proud to be getting their citizenship. Yes. It was just wonderful to watch that.
No, I mean, one then realises that it's not just, okay, it's the country, but it's also Oxford and being here, that people who are newer to it really appreciate it, and that's terribly touching and gratifying.
It's a very special city in an amazingly beautiful county.
And a lovely lot of council officers who are under sort of lots of pressure, budgetary pressure to say the least.
And we can say thank you to them. So it's been a fantastic year for me.
And for me.